so, Sam Hunter became my son-in-law in a very legally binding way. Things are going to change for Sam. I was a very, very nice guy, and in a moment, I've got this speech down, by the way, to about an hour and 15 minutes. That being said, I want to thank all of you who came here from various places, in particular my nephew Hugh, who flew here from Seattle to be with us. But, you know, it's very popular with the young folks now to go to a destination wedding. You know, they say, well, you know, we're going to go to Bermuda, or I think one of my friends just went to a wedding in northern Italy, and this is not a destination wedding. I just want to, you can't tell people back at home what it is. It's the place where Sam and Tricia Hunter have decided to raise their family, which is a wonderful thing. So, but thank you all so much for coming to Richmond. Coming down 95 South is a chore. And I can't thank you all enough for being here. And speaking of families, Peggy and I have had the good fortune of meeting Sam's parents, Amy and Eddie, who we fell immediately into happiness with each other. Part of it is because they have a really cool place at Smith Mountain Lake. I just want to be honest. You know, Amy's wonderful, but Eddie. But you know, they're a wonderful, absolutely wonderful family. As a lot of you saw last night, Eddie and Richard made wonderful speeches and said a lot of really nice things about my daughter, which I will correct in the not too distant future. But by extension, I want to, it's the Hunter and the Christie families, and you may have seen Mark Christie was one of the celebrants there today, and he was, he's just a fantastic guy, and I, told him that I've been bragging about him, and I'm not going to tell you why, but the two families coming together is a very, very special thing. They're two really, I'm incredibly proud of my own family. As anybody who's spent any time with me will know, I will brag and brag and brag. I've accomplished very little, but my family has accomplished very, very much. But I can't tell you how happy Eddie and Amy we are to have our families together. It just means the world to me. And I haven't said anything about Sam, have I? Except that in a very legally binding sense, he is my son-in-law. But we spent the first 2.5 months of COVID, beginning in March 2020, at our home in Stone Harbor. And if there's ever been a father-in-law that knew his future son-in-law, they were not engaged at the time, but nonetheless, he finally made an honest woman of Tricia. Nevertheless, there's no better way to get to know somebody than to spend 2.5 months with them, having breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I can tell you, Sam is a very hard-working individual. He took telework very, very seriously. He would close his door. He would be behind closed doors. He might reappear for a sandwich at lunchtime. Then he would go back. But every night at dinner, and then on weekends, Peggy would have to come downstairs at about 1 or 2 in the morning to find out, are you guys still up? What are you doing? And Sam's introducing me to every YouTube music video that has ever been done. I'm one of the few people my age, I'm 70, that knows who Greta Van Fleet is. So In any event, the only thing that really bothers me about Sam is that he is so freaking artistic. He can draw, he builds models, he does stuff that I would never have the patience in any sense of the word to do. And he's also, as a lot of these fellas here know, a graduate of VMI. And I've talked to a lot of these young men, many of whom are part of the party, the wedding party, and there was no way in God's name that I could have ever gotten through what these young men did. I can tell you, it's just, and one guy is more impressive than the next. I mean, it's really just a fantastic group. And my son-in-law, in a very real legal sense, is one of those guys. And I can't tell you, he's my son. The law thing let's just erase it. And we just say, Sam, I'm so happy that you're now a part of my family. Now, you all will know that I haven't said anything about Tricia because there's not that much to say. But before I talk about Tricia, and that's going to be the difficult part of this speech this evening, I have to say, when Peg and I got married, I had an instant family because Matthew, one of the celebrants, was 4 years old, and this wonderful woman, this beautiful woman, who, for God only knows why, but she fell in love with me, and it's now 35 years later. And shortly after we met, about 4 months later, we got married, and shortly thereafter, in case anybody is keeping track of months, and by the way, Carter came 3 weeks early, and that's a whole other story. But now, my world was even more complete. I had Matt, I had Carter, and I was really just a very, very, very happy man. I'm going to tell you how happy I was. 35 years old, absolutely freaking gorgeous wife, and now, 2 sons to raise. However, Peg wanted to move forward, as we say, and golly, I was up to the task. The time I put in, I can't tell you. Nonetheless, I know how much you all appreciate my efforts. I can thank you so much. It's good to be recognized finally for the work I put in. In any event, that being said, at the age of 42, Tricia Lynch was born. I think it's like July 20, I don't know what the hell it is. It's like July 23rd, I believe, and Tricia was born, and she had this shock of black hair, and the boys and I immediately called her Tiny Elvis, right? And she was so beautiful and so quiet, so just observing those huge eyes that you see right now, these beautiful eyes that you see, were there the day she was born, and she looked around the room, and she didn't make a peep. And the day after she was born, the boys and I went, and I brought some flowers, and I bought a card, which Peg has saved. And on that card, I wrote to Tricia, I said, anything you want, just ask. And Peggy said, you might regret that.
I said, are you sure?
Are you sure? That's right. So, nonetheless, what am I? I'm not getting close to an hour and 15 minutes yet. any event, Tricia was here with us, and as Peg has said, she was the glue, the final piece to the family. And quite frankly, she has never really asked me for very much. All I've gotten, you see, this is the tough part, all she's brought me is even more happiness. She's just been an absolute delight. And now, again, by the grace of God, she found a young man that is just as special as she is. She is the kindest of individuals. She is an individual that is so inherently kind and decent and caring that it is, I don't know, it sometimes overwhelms me. And she still doesn't say an awful lot, and she hasn't really asked me for that much over the course of time. Now she gets Sam to ask me for it. For example, gentlemen, trademark, I told you, I mentioned it earlier. Sam made one request with regards to the wedding, and he said, we gotta get trademark. All right, so I'm almost at the end here, and I know you'll all be thankful. I said to Peggy maybe a couple of months ago or something of that nature, I said, I don't think I've ever been happier in my entire life than I am right now. You know, I'm 70, I'm retired, I've had this wonderful, wonderful wife for 35 years. I have 3 absolutely wonderful children. And if I could ask you to toast anything, I would ask you to toast the proposition that I hope Tricia and Sam's life together is even happier if that's possible. But here's to Sam and Tricia.
Here, here.